lemonade. As much as I admire that, I would like to think that people will put in an equal amount of effort and time and money to try and re-elect those stupid local politicians that pass ordinances like that and get to the root of the problem, which is it's not that the police are being told to go enforce stupid ordinances, but it's because stupid ordinances have been passed in the first place by collectivists who don't understand what America is all about. So I always try to go to the source of the problem, not the problem itself. And the source of the problem is that we're electing the wrong people.
I agree with you, completely agree. And I'm trying to understand, what is the mindset of those who think gun confiscation from citizens is a great idea? Because let's face it, there's a significant percentage of the country that somehow believes that. What do they imagine, that when all the people are disarmed and only the government has all the guns, that they're going to be safer? How do they think that?
They actually do. I have some personal friends that I just think the world of them. They're very nice people, but that's their attitude. They think every time something happens, there's an accident, a little child gets killed by a gun accidentally, or some shooter goes into a school and kills a bunch of kids, they focus on that and say, look, you see, the problem there was guns. If those people didn't have guns, they think, but none of these crimes would take place. And they might be right that some crimes might not be committed if there were no guns out there, but there would be more crimes committed if there were no guns out there. I have a little slogan I've used for years. I say, guns are dangerous. People get killed with guns. Guns, there are accidents with guns. Guns are very dangerous. The only thing more dangerous than having guns is not having them.
Well, and also I love how people who think we should all be disarmed, when they have a problem, when they have an intruder hiding in the bushes outside their house, what do? They pick up the phone to call men with guns to come solve their problem.
Yeah.
I just say take out the middleman. Let's do it ourselves. We're here in Texas. We can defend our own homes against crazy people and looters. I mean, that's an American right.
Yeah. Well, you see, they like to paint people like you and me as some kind of wild killers under the skin.
Yahoos.
Just hardly wait to kill somebody,
Oh, right.
Yeah. Well, I've fired a lot of guns when I was in the military, a little practice since I came out, and they kind of jar me a little bit, but I think they're very important for every family they have. Just the great equalizer, as they say.
Well, yeah, this is what gives a 110-pound grandma the ability to stand her ground against a 250-pound thug who wants to steal her purse.
That's right.
It is the great equalizer. Well, Ed Griffin, I really appreciate you being on the show today. Ed Griffin from realityzone.com. Check out his website, folks, to learn more about his philosophies and lots of information. Ed, great to have you on. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Talk to you later.
Yeah, you bet.
Bye.
A great freedom champion right there, folks. There goes Ed Griffin. And we'll be back here on the Alex Jones Show. A lot more straight ahead, including an interview with a big pharma whistleblower in the next hour. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We are into the second hour. Thanks for joining us. Yet again, this is Mike Adams filling in for Alex Jones. An honor and a pleasure to be here. And it is Tuesday, July 17th, 2012. Just had a great segment with Ed Griffin there, and a lot of talk about the gun confiscation that has already taken place in America and that could take place in the months ahead if anything goes down out of the ordinary. We've got callers on the line. If you'd like to join us, we're taking calls today from military and law enforcement personnel who have firsthand knowledge and experience of gun confiscation, either drills or active missions. And that 800 number is 1-800-259-9231. Yes, I finally got that memorized after reading it off the sheet for so many times. That 1-800-259-9231. Now, for some other news, and by the way, straight ahead, at the bottom of this hour, we've got that whistleblower who was a former employee of GlaxoSmithKline. He and his co-worker were the two people who took information to the government that resulted in Glaxo paying a $3 billion fine. Yes, $3 billion, the largest in the history of medicine. But here's some other news that might interest you. And by the way, we will go to callers in the next segment. But first, check this out. The IRS has no legal basis to collect the Affordable Care Act tax, Obamacare, in other words. It's all an act. This is the headline that we've got. This is up on Infowars.com. It's a naturalnews.com story by Ethan Huff. And the thrust of it is that even though the IRS is now put in charge of collecting this penalty, well, now they call it a penalty, but of course it's a tax, right? The IRS has no legal ability to collect this penalty. And in fact, all they can do is send you threatening letters and try to intimidate you into voluntarily paying it. How's that for interesting? I guess some people would argue that the entire income tax is voluntary, but that's probably a whole different show. In any case, the only way that the IRS can actually get this money from you legally under current law and regulations is to take it out of your withholdings. In other words, to not send it back to you. So this is another great reason to not have the IRS take as much money out of your paycheck every month and then send you back a refund at the end of the year, because that's how they can then have leverage over you for the Obamacare penalty. Now, I'm on the record saying that I refuse to participate in this. I refuse to buy health care in the corrupt mafia medical system. I refuse to pay the IRS this penalty, but I guess they're just going to probably take it out of my withholdings and there's nothing that I can do about it. That's the reality that we're facing in America, but I will not voluntarily participate in this corrupt criminal medical system. That's bottom line. If they take it out of my filings, because I do file taxes, that's a battle that I don't wish to deal with right now. You know, I'm not a tax protester person, so I do pay taxes. If they take it out, then I guess I just have to write it off as another loss to the corrupt police state for a service that I will never use, because I don't go visit doctors. I'm in perfect health. Here's my medicine right here. You see this? I'm famous for bringing these jars onto the show. This is my superfood. This is what I eat. It's high mineral nutrition, phytonutrients, plant-based nutrition, man. This is what keeps me going. This is why I'm healthy, why I don't have diabetes. Just for those of you who may not know me that well, I used to be borderline diabetic, type 2, right on the edge of it. I used to be borderline obese. I used to have chronic pain. I used to have depression and high cholesterol, all those things. That was like, I don't know, 12 years ago now. And how did I get healthy and stay healthy? It's nutrition. It wasn't doctors. It wasn't Obama's healthcare system. It wasn't vaccines. I haven't been vaccinated in well over 20 years maybe now. I don't know the exact number. And I wish I was never vaccinated, frankly. But, if God wanted us to have vaccines, he wouldn't have given us an immune system, right? All right, a lot more. Stay with us here on The Alex Jones Show. We'll be right back with more calls and more news straight ahead. Stay with us. We are well into the second hour here on The Alex Jones Show. Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, editor of naturalnews.com, filling in today. And of course, we're at the Infowars.com studios here in Austin, Texas. Thank you for joining us. It's always great to be here and to reach out to you with all this incredible information. I always love Infowars callers, too. They're so well informed. You know, if there's anywhere that I would want to just hang out with really cool people, it would be at an Infowars event, because I know you could just talk to people about reality. You know, you don't have to deal with delusions. You don't have to deal with people who are uninformed. It's just talking about reality. And that's sort of what I left off with there in the last segment is this quote that I'm fond of saying, again, if God wanted us to take vaccines, he wouldn't have given us an immune system. And there's a lot of people find that funny, but it's true. Why do you have an immune system? Because you're supposed to survive. You're supposed to have that blueprint for health and vitality. And you're supposed to feed it right with nutrition, with minerals, with vitamins and nutrients and real food, not with GMOs and vaccines and chemicals and hormones and antibiotics and all those things. I don't mean to segue into health too much because we've got so much other news here, but it is important. And by the way, I prepared another quote, and see if we can show that on screen for the Prisonplanet.tv viewers. Another quote, because I believe in divine truth, divine rights. Here's another quote I put together. If our Creator did not want us to be free, he would not have given us free will. Now think about that for a minute, and think about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the divine inspiration of those documents. Why is the First Amendment a divine right? Why is the Second Amendment a divine right? You might be asking, whoa, how can that be a divine right? Well, look around you. Look around you in nature. If you go see a cactus plant, for example, that cactus plant has its own Second Amendment rights, the right to keep and bear spines. And the spines protect the little cactus plant from predators. And the spines are nature's way of saying, leave me alone, let me just grow here in my own space and mind my own business. And that is common throughout nature. You see defenses in plants and animals and so on. It is a divine truth to have the right to defend yourself, to protect yourself, your family, your children, your community, your neighborhood. That is a divine right. It is granted to us by our Creator. It is not something that we have to go begging the king to give us because he feels like we should have it for that day or that week or that year. It is a divine right, and it cannot be taken away from us, and free speech is the same way. It's a divine right to have that freedom of expression. You see that again reflected throughout nature, in plants and animals, and in just patterns of nature throughout the cosmos. Freedom of expression is really a reflection of the intent of God and the Creator. I'm not going to get preachy on you here. I just want to share that, there is a divine element behind everything that we do here. When we talk about freedom of speech, when we talk about the right to defend yourself against aggressors and against violent criminals, those are divine rights, and we will not give them up, not under any circumstances. If you're an info warrior out there and you enjoy this show, remember, we do not give up these rights. We do not surrender what is divine in our lives. Oh, they're showing some cactus right there on the screen. Yes, some succulents on screen. Thank you for that, for Prisonplanet.tv viewers. All right, I want to go to some more callers right now. I've got tons of other news, but I actually think the callers are more important than this other news right now. So the phones are all, wow. Okay, let's go to Chad in Long Island, former Army. Chad, thank you for your call, and you're on the show here on the Alex Jones Show. Go ahead, sir. What's on your mind?
How you doing, Mr. Adams?
I'm doing great. Thank you for calling in. Great to hear your voice.
Great to hear you, sir. One, I just want to say to all the veterans and all the police and all the first responders, remember your oath. That's number one. Number two, how can you vilify a tool? That's like a carpenter saying a hammer's bad because he hit his hand. A gun is nothing more than a tool. It's the person that uses it is evil, not the tool itself. And that's what we need to remember, and we need to instill that in our children, is that you can't blame tools for all the problems in the world. You have to blame the individuals.
That's right. We've got to have the ethics. We've got to have the morals. We have to have that personal responsibility, which is, again, taught in many religions. It's a code of ethics that makes society more peaceful. And you're right, that tool can be used to protect life, to defend life. Why do people think cops carry guns? To stop violence. I mean, that's the way they're trained, to stop the violence, using the threat of force against someone who doesn't have those ethics. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yes, I definitely would agree with that. And I think that also we as citizens need to weed out the people that are in authority that have those guns and use the authority to brutalize and step on the necks of the poor people of this world.
Oh, of course. Of course, we can't tolerate corruption. We can't tolerate bad cops. Absolutely.
Exactly. I mean, my thing is, I personally believe, Mr. Adams, and this is just my personal belief, I think there should be, all across this country, citizens groups that police the police for the corrupt police that are in these neighborhoods and in these